I first noticed Oliver Marsh on a Saturday afternoon in late August, at a rest stop off Interstate 70 in eastern Colorado. He was 8 years old, and when he stepped out of the restroom, he realized the car carrying his father, his stepmother, and his 3 step-siblings had already pulled away without him. He did exactly what his mom had drilled into him for moments like that. He didn't panic. He didn't wander. He stayed where he was, kept himself calm, and waited for someone to come find him. That someone turned out to be me 3 hours later. My name's Nathan Brennan, road name Styx. I ride with the Mountain Kings MC. I'm the kind of biker people usually notice for all the wrong reasons, but that day I noticed something nobody else did. A kid sitting alone, stiff and silent, like a statue. A kid waiting for someone to remember he existed. And over the next 200 miles, I'd do my best to show him that being forgotten by one person doesn't make you forgettable. That rest stop was the kind most folks blow through without a second thought. A few parking spots, a squat brick building with restrooms and vending machines, a couple picnic tables facing flat farmland that stretched out forever. At exactly 4:23 p.m., I pulled my Softail into one of the motorcycle spots and shut the engine down. After 3 straight hours on the highway, I was grateful just to stand up and feel my legs again. I was 44 at the time, secretary for the Mountain Kings MC out of Denver. Tall and thin, 6'2", barely 170. All angles and sinew, sun-worn skin, a reddish-brown beard starting to gray at the edges. My arms were covered in tattoos, each one a chapter from 20 years on 2 wheels. They call me Styx because that's what I look like someone lashed together from bones, leather, and stubbornness. The patches on my vest told a longer story. One about finding family on the road after my blood family let me down. I was headed to Kansas City for a funeral. An old Army buddy of mine had lost his fight with cancer at 51. He left behind a wife and 3 kids who deserved a hell of a lot better than what life handed them. I rode alone because I needed the quiet. Too many losses will do that to a man. I went into the restroom, splashed water on my face, bought a Coke from the vending machine, and headed back toward my bike. That's when I saw the kid. He was sitting by himself at one of the picnic tables, hunched forward with his elbows on his knees, staring down at the concrete. Maybe 8 or 9 years old. Cargo shorts, a faded Spider-Man t-shirt, new-looking sneakers, a small backpack resting on the bench beside him. His brown hair hung into his eyes, like it hadn't seen a pair of scissors in a while. What caught my attention wasn't that he was there. Rest stops are full of kids. What stopped me was how still he was. Kids that age don't sit like that. They bounce. They complain. They beg for snacks. This boy didn't move at all. He sat like he'd been there forever, and like he expected to be there a whole lot longer. I scanned the rest stop. A couple cars parked nearby. An RV pulling out. A minivan loading up a family. No one looked connected to him. No adult watching from a distance. No parent calling his name. I walked over slowly, keeping my space. I didn't want to scare him. "Hey there, buddy," I said. "You okay?" He looked up at me. His eyes were red around the edges, and his face was pale even in the August heat. He'd been crying, not just a minute ago, but enough that the signs were still there. "I'm fine," he said, in that automatic way kids say things they don't mean. I sat down on the opposite bench and set my Coke on the table between us. "You waiting on someone?" His jaw tightened. He looked back down at the concrete and stayed quiet. "What's your name?" He hesitated for a long moment, then answered so softly I almost missed it. "Oliver. Oliver Marsh." "Nice to meet you, Oliver. I'm Nathan. Most folks call me Styx." I gave a small shrug toward my frame. Pretty obvious why. For half a second, the hint of a smile crossed his face. Then it disappeared. "Oliver," I asked gently, "where are your parents? Your mom or dad around here somewhere?" That's when his face fell apart. Not loudly. No screaming. No drama. Just the quiet collapse of a kid who'd been holding it together for way too long. "My dad forgot me." The words hit me straight in the chest. "Forgot you?" I said. "What do you mean?" We stopped here, he said. Me and my dad and my stepmom and her kids. I went to the bathroom. When I came back, the car was gone. His voice cracked. I've been waiting. They didn't come back. I think my dad forgot I was here. Despite the heat, I felt cold. How long you been waiting, Oliver? I don't know, he said. A long time. The sun was higher when they left. I looked up at the sky. The sun was already sinking into the afternoon. If he was telling the truth, and everything about him said he'd been alone there at least 2 or 3 hours. Do you have a phone? I asked. Did you try calling your dad? He shook his head. My phone's in the car. Dad said I didn't need to bring it into the bathroom. Do you know his number? We can use mine. He swallowed. I don't remember it. It's saved in my phone. I just pushed the button. His face flushed with embarrassment. I'm sorry. I should know it. Mom always said I should memorize it. Hey, I said, keeping my voice steady even though my head was spinning. That's okay. A lot of kids don't memorize numbers anymore. That's what phones are for. I took a breath. What about your mom? You said she's different from your stepmom? Yeah, he said. My mom lives in Kansas City. I live with her most of the time. I was just visiting my dad for August. He moved to Utah last year with Brenda. That's my stepmom. So you're traveling from Utah to Kansas City? He nodded. Dad was driving me back to Mom. He said flying was too expensive. I did the math in my head. Utah to Kansas City is a long haul, 12 hours easy, maybe more depending where you start. That meant this rest stop was only 3 or 4 hours from the destination, which meant they were almost there when they left him behind. Oliver, I said, looking him straight in the eye. I need you to listen to me for a minute. I'm going to help you, all right? We're going to sort this out together. But first, I've got to make a few phone calls. You stay right here with me. You're not alone anymore. He nodded, and I could see it in his shoulders, the tension easing just a little. The kind of relief that comes when a grown-up finally steps in and takes control. The first call I made was to 911. I told them there was an abandoned child at the Interstate 70 rest stop and gave them my information along with Oliver's name. The dispatcher said a Colorado State Patrol unit would be there within 30 minutes. While we waited, I went to the vending machines and grabbed him a sandwich and a juice. He admitted he hadn't eaten since breakfast and was starving. I sat with him at the picnic table while he ate, keeping things as normal as I could. Tell me about your mom, I said, mostly to take his mind off everything else. For the first time, his face actually lit up. She's a nurse, he said. She works at a hospital in Kansas City. She's really nice. She makes the best mac and cheese, not the box kind. Real cheese. He smiled a little. And she still reads to me at night, even though I can read by myself. She says it's our special time. She sounds pretty great, I said. She is, he replied. I miss her. This month felt really long. Did you have fun with your dad? I asked carefully. The brightness drained out of his face. It was okay at first, he said. But Brenda has 2 kids, and they don't really like me. Dad's always busy with them now. It's like, he trailed off. Like you don't fit anymore, I said quietly. He looked at me surprised. Yeah, exactly like that. I nodded. I knew that feeling better than I wanted to. When I was 10, my own dad started a new family. Being slowly erased, becoming an inconvenience, that kind of thing sticks with you longer than people think. The Colorado State Patrol showed up 22 minutes later. The trooper introduced himself as Hernandez. He was professional, calm, and kind. He crouched down to Oliver's level and spoke gently, then took my statement and thanked me for staying with the boy. We're trying to reach the father now, Hernandez told me quietly, while another trooper sat with Oliver. We got a hit on the vehicle registration from the description Oliver gave us. They're still westbound on I-70. Pulled over about 60 miles from here. 60 miles, I repeated. They drove 60 miles before noticing their kid wasn't in the car? Hernandez's jaw tightened. Vehicle had 7 people in it. 4 of them children. The father says he assumed Oliver was asleep in the back with the other kids. Stepmother thought he was still in the bathroom at the gas station and assumed he got back in when she wasn't looking. That's a lot of assumptions to make about an 8-year-old, I said. Yes, sir, it is, he replied. They're turning around now. Should be here in about an hour and a half. And then what? I asked. You hand Oliver back to a man who forgot he existed for 3 hours? Hernandez exhaled slowly. That's above my pay grade. Child Protective Services will be notified. A report will be filed. What happens after that depends on a lot of factors. I looked over at Oliver. He was animated now, telling the other trooper all about his mom, about Kansas City, about how excited he was to see her again. His mom lives in Kansas City, I said. She has primary custody. His dad was just driving him back after summer visitation. We're trying to reach her now, Hernandez said. We've got numbers from the custody paperwork. That's when I made up my mind. I'm headed to Kansas City anyway, I said. Friend's funeral tomorrow. If the mother wants, I can take Oliver the rest of the way. Save the dad the trip. And save the kid from getting back into a car with people who forgot him. Hernandez studied me. The leather vest. The patches. A man who didn't exactly scream safe choice at first glance. That's generous, he said carefully. But we can't release a minor to a stranger. I understand, I said. Just mention it to the mother when you reach her. Give her my number. Let her decide. I tore a page from the small notebook I carry, wrote down my name and phone number, and handed it to him. Then I went back and sat with Oliver. Your dad's coming back, I told him. He realized you weren't in the car and turned around. Oliver didn't look relieved. He just nodded. Okay. You don't seem very happy about that. He didn't notice for 60 miles, he said quietly. That's a long time to not notice your kid is gone. I didn't have an argument for that. We sat together as the afternoon slipped toward evening. He talked about his school, his best friend Marcus, who lived 2 streets over and had a trampoline. He talked about wanting a dog and his mom saying their apartment didn't allow pets. He talked about everything except his father. I listened. Sometimes that's all a kid really needs. Someone who hears them without correcting, fixing, or minimizing how they feel. At 6:47 p.m. My phone rang. Unknown number. Kansas City area code. Hello, is this Nathan Brennan? A woman asked. Her voice was tight, stretched thin by worry. Yes, ma'am. This is Celeste Marsh. I'm Oliver's mother. The police gave me your number. They said you found my son and stayed with him. Yes, ma'am. He's right here with me. He's safe. I heard her exhale. A sound so full of relief it almost hurt to listen to. Can I talk to him, please? I handed the phone to Oliver. It's your mom. His face changed instantly. Mom. Mom. And then he broke down, real crying this time. The kind that comes after holding it in for too long. I was so scared, he said. Dad forgot me. He just left. I didn't know what to do. But this man found me, the biker, and he stayed with me and got me food. He's really nice, Mom. He listened to me. I stepped away to give them privacy, walking toward the edge of the parking lot, where I could still see him but couldn't hear the call. Oliver talked for 10 minutes, laughing and crying in waves. When he finally walked back over, he handed me the phone. She wants to talk to you again. I took it. Mrs. Marsh. Ms., she corrected gently. I took my name back after the divorce. Ms. Marsh, I said. I don't know how to thank you, she replied. The police told me Oliver was alone at that rest stop for almost 3 hours before you found him, Celeste said. Anything could have happened. Anyone could have. Her voice cracked, and she had to stop for a second. He's a brave kid. He kept himself together even though he was terrified. You should be proud of him. I am. She took a breath. I'm also furious with his father, but that's a separate issue. There was a short pause on the line. They said you offered to drive Oliver the rest of the way to Kansas City. Is that offer still open? Yes, ma'am, I said. I'm already headed that direction. I'd be glad to bring him home. I've spoken with the troopers, she said. They're running a background check, verifying who you are, all of that. But assuming everything clears, and they said you have no criminal record, I would much rather my son spend 3 hours with a kind stranger than get back into a car with his father right now. Her voice softened. Is that a terrible thing for a mother to say? No, ma'am, I replied. That sounds like a mother protecting her kid. Can you put Oliver back on the phone? She asked. I need to explain what's going to happen. I handed the phone to Oliver and watched his face as his mom told him that instead of waiting for his dad, he was going to ride with me the rest of the way to Kansas City. First came surprise, then relief. Really? He said. I can go with Sticks? He looked up at me like I just performed some kind of magic. Okay, Mom. I trust him. And he's got a really cool motorcycle. The background check cleared in 40 minutes. I've been careful for the last 20 years, extra careful, knowing that wearing an MC patch meant every mistake would be judged 10 times harder. The troopers coordinated things with Oliver's father, who seemed oddly relieved not to have to drive another 2 hours. That told me just about everything I needed to know. At 7:34 p.m., Oliver climbed onto the back of my Softail. He wore a borrowed helmet from the trooper's trunk. His backpack was secured in my saddlebag, and his small arms wrapped around my middle. You ready? I asked. I've never been on a motorcycle before, he said. Then let's make this a good memory to replace the bad one, I told him. Hold on tight. We've got about 3 hours ahead of us. We rolled out as the Colorado evening cooled and crossed into Kansas while the sun dipped low and the stars came out. I kept my speed steady, checked my mirrors constantly. At first his grip was tight, nervous, but mile by mile he relaxed. We stopped once for gas and bathrooms. Inside the station, I bought him an ice cream sandwich because he admitted he'd never had one, which felt like an injustice that needed fixing immediately. This is the best day ever, he said later, chocolate smeared on his chin, standing under the gas station lights beside the bike. I mean, the beginning was really bad, but this part is the best. Sometimes the worst days turn into the best stories, I told him. Someday you'll tell people about the time you got left at a rest stop and a biker rode you home. It'll sound like an adventure instead of a tragedy. He looked at me. Is that what happened to you? Bad days turning into good stories? I thought about my own childhood. An absent father. A mom who struggled. Years of feeling like I didn't belong anywhere, until I found the club. Yeah, kid, I said. That's exactly what happened to me. We pulled into Kansas City at 10:52 p.m. Celeste was already outside her apartment building, pacing the sidewalk, checking her phone every half minute. When she saw my headlight turn onto her street, she ran toward us. Oliver didn't wait for the bike to fully stop. He scrambled off and sprinted straight into his mother's arms. She lifted him despite his size and held him so tight I could see the strain in her arms. They were both crying. And I'll admit, my eyes burned watching it. Thank you, Celeste said finally as she walked over to me. Oliver's hand locked firmly in hers. She looked younger than I expected, maybe mid-30s, with his brown hair and a face worn down by exhaustion and relief all at once. Thank you doesn't feel like enough. You saved my son. I just gave him a ride, I said. He saved himself by staying put and staying calm. She stepped forward and hugged me. This stranger in leather, this biker who'd walked into her son's worst moment and somehow turned it into an adventure. I hugged her back, awkward but honest. Can Sticks come to breakfast tomorrow? Oliver asked. Please, Mom. He has a funeral, she said gently. But maybe after. She looked at me. You're welcome anytime. I mean that, your family now as far as we're concerned. I thought about that word, family. The one I lost. The one I found on the road. And now this unexpected bond, born at a rest stop in Colorado. I'd like that, I said. Breakfast sounds good. 3 months later, I rode back to Kansas City again. This time it wasn't for a funeral. It was for Oliver's 9th birthday. I brought him a gift, a kid-sized leather jacket with a custom patch on the back that read, Honorary Road King. He wore it all day, showed it off to anyone who'd look, told the story again and again. He's not just a biker, he corrected one of his friends. He's my friend, Sticks. He drove 200 miles to bring me home. From the kitchen doorway, Celeste caught my eye and mouthed thank you for what had to be the 100th time. The custody arrangement changed after that summer. Oliver's dad ended up with supervised visits only, pending a review that was unlikely to go his way. Oliver didn't seem bothered. He had his mom, his friend Marcus with the trampoline, and a biker in Denver who called every Sunday just to check in. About a year after the rest stop, during one of those calls, Oliver said, "You know what I figured out?" "What's that, buddy?" "My dad forgetting me was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But it's also how I met you, so maybe it wasn't all bad." I smiled into the phone. Sometimes the worst days turn into the best stories. "Remember?" "I remember," he said. "And Sticks, thanks for seeing me. When I was sitting there thinking nobody was ever going to notice I was gone, you noticed. You saw me." "I'll always see you, Oliver," I said. "That's what friends do. Some families you're born into. Others you find at rest stops off Interstate 70. Form somewhere between being abandoned and being rescued, between being forgotten and finally being seen. There's a tradition now with the Mountain Kings MC. Every August, on the anniversary of that day, I ride out to that rest stop in eastern Colorado. I sit at the picnic table, drink a Coke, and think about a scared kid who stayed strong long enough for help to arrive. Then I ride home knowing that somewhere in Kansas City, a boy is wearing a leather jacket that says Honorary Road King on the back, telling anyone who'll listen about the day a biker rode 200 miles just to bring him home.